Okay, we're off.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Welcome, everybody. This is the I Know Nothing podcast. We have a pop-up with Alison Synakowski. I thought her last name was Samsonite
Yes.
up until this point.
Very good.
This is the first time we're attempting this today. We both realized that we've never had sardines in our life. One of Al's patients and someone who now does strength training with me decided that we should have our sardines together. So, Al, can you explain what we're doing here?
Yeah. So, I think in light of, we definitely encourage people to try new things and go out of your comfort zone. And sardines being one of those things. Sorry, we can't get our faces normal. It being one of those things that has a lot of nutritional benefit.
Yes, it's packed with protein.
Packed with protein, packed with all sorts of omegas and healthy things to keep. That's an easy thing. It's not expensive. They've been around forever. They're sardines, man. They're here. So we threw out the idea of trying them together. So thankfully, somebody that I know posted a post of just tuna fish with sardines and hot sauce. So anything
one of my
with
favorite
hot sauce,
ingredients.
yes, like if you just put it on something, maybe it makes it better.
Okay.
I did not do it on camera, but I did literally just open these, and there was a moment of like, what's inside the sardine can, and it's little fish. They're little fish. They're little fish in there. They break up nicely. So now we have a nice little concoction of hot sauce, tuna fish, and that was from oil, which I usually get from water, but that's fine. Anything that tastes different is going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a concoction of tuna fish, sardines that were likely smoked, and Hannaford hot sauce, and everything. We just put this together. So we're gonna try them. Yeah, we're gonna just get this out of the way because we can't.
We're just snack on it all podcast.
Hopefully.
Okay.
I do wish I had a cracker or like a Triscuit to bite, whatever.
Here we go. Water. Did you bring a water?
You have a jug of hot sauce. All right.
Yes.
So it's mixed together.
Okay. It's a pretty big scoop.
I'm gonna take a big scoop. I'm just going.
Okay. Cheers.
I'm okay.
The smokiness to the sardine.
I think for me, it's mixing it with the tuna. Like
100%.
Yeah.
That's actually not bad.
I'm okay. I'm alive.
So thank you, Jane.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you. We've had some conversations, Frank, Paul, that we were talking about trying sardines. I'm gonna have a little more. I do wish I had a Triscuit. Like a little cracker. Like to put them on.
Next time we'll bring Triscuits.
I'm gonna eat this. So this is, let's see, there's 18 grams of protein in a can of sardines, and there's like 30 something in a can of tuna fish, right? 26 in this one.
Yeah.
So in this bowl, I don't know if I could eat the whole bowl. There's 44 grams of protein.
0.7 grams of.
Go ahead.
Grams of protein per pound of body weight should be no problem with some sardines.
I don't hate it. Have some more.
Yeah, it's just a fish eyeball here.
Fine. So when we say try new things, whether it's my children listening or, stop eating chicken nuggets and eat a chicken breast, know that we are really serious and that we will try new things too. So, one more bite.
It's actually not bad.
It's not bad.
The aftertaste is better than the regular taste.
Yeah, agreed. The second bite was better.
Okay, so we actually might eat this as we do this.
I think we will. We'll both get 22 grams of protein.
Perfect. It's lunchtime.
It's
1 o'clock. Time to re-up on
protein. I have salmon inside if I didn't, I might eat that anyway.
Wow.
So it's going to be a great full day of nutrients.
I'll leave this in the middle.
I'm good. I'm actually okay. So
okay.
Here we are.
All right. So, Al, I know who you are. Would you mind explaining just who you are to the fans out there, but also why someone should listen to you?
I'll start with the easier one of who I am. Alison Synakowski. I'm a PT, had my doctorate in practicing for about 15 years. I am also an athletic trainer. That was my first degree, was my bachelor's in athletic training. Went on to PT school, went on to get my orthopedic certification, and immense amount of continuing education courses. Um, that's who I am. I knew I wanted to follow that path since a ninth grader. I knew I wanted to go AT-PT.
Wow.
It was in the mix of when PT was transitioning from master's to doctorate. So it took me 7 years, 8 years with some time off, where I was able to practice at 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 Hamilton College. And then, and here I am doing what I wanted to do from when I was 15 years old.
So you should listen to her because she's really smart.
We're gonna, I don't know why to listen to me. I mean, I think that's, I just think my goal, my personal goal is always to just learn from everything and everybody. So the more people I talk to, the more information I have, and listen or have a conversation, because I like to see it both ways. I don't, I want to learn from you as much as you are trying to learn from me, whether you're a client or a student or a colleague or whatever. So, yeah.
We're going to go down that the whole trail of AT, PT, what you do now. I don't really know much about your background growing up as an athlete. So could you go through maybe just maybe when you started playing sports, what sports you played, and then take us through high school?
Yeah, I mean, just always an athlete. I grew up pretty much at the Knights of Columbus in Utica area. I was there every Saturday. I was one of the first girls through the program. Had to change in my own bathroom when we were going down to the pool.
Wow.
There was one other girl there with me, but for the most part, Saturday mornings was me. I had to move up and play with my brother because I was the only girl and they didn't want me away from my brother. So it was kind of interesting how that has evolved since then. But I never thought twice about it, of being the only girl. Looking back, It's cool, but it was just normal. But I mostly played basketball. I played a lot of softball. I played field hockey. I got smashed in the head 2 or 3 times with the ball, maybe a little aggressive, attacking people. Grass fields back in the day, hard hits just flying up into my head. I didn't learn from those fast charges, so I decided probably, I think 9th or 10th grade was my last year playing field hockey. And then basketball was my thing. Played some AAU. We were decent as a team, couple undefeated seasons in the regular season. White Sprosos at the time was the smallest Class A school. Okay. So then we would just go out to the Syracuse teams and just get annihilated.
Oh, wow.
It was crazy. The competition was so much different. 1,000-point scorer. That's my big accolade in sports, I would say.
That's a big accolade.
Yeah, I didn't play my freshman year. I went to Ithaca College, and then I transferred to Springfield College. I played a year there, and then I just didn't want that life. I played intramurals, and I did a lot of sports, and I was an athletic training major, so I was always around it. Always did stuff, but had a lot of fun, stayed active through college.
You said you knew that you wanted to be an AT when you were a freshman in high school. Why?
I think the main reason behind that was because I wanted to work with athletes.
Okay.
And kind of had this idea that, on paper, I wanted to set myself aside from other people. So if I was applying for a job, I think that's the one time credentials matter a little bit.
Yeah,
is when you haven't been in front of somebody and you have a piece of paper that is trying to set you apart from people. So my goal was always to go AT, get the sports background, move to PT, and then practice from there.
You had this figured out in 9th grade?
Yeah. Yep.
See, she's
That's
really smart.
That's kind of how I am.
I didn't even know what an athletic trainer was in 9th grade.
Yeah. I don't know why I did. We didn't have one. I was in PT for a knee injury, or not an injury, a knee pain that ended up having exploratory surgery. Looking back, probably didn't need it, but I liked my PT and I liked that experience. I had a great personal trainer growing up, Al Collegero. He was the man, well ahead of his time. Loved spending time there. Got my balls broke a lot. And that was one of my favorite things to do, was lift and just be present. So.
Okay, I didn't know that either, so I'm gonna stop for a second. What was your lifting like with the personal trainer? Like, what were you doing?
Well, the best. So I started, I think, in 8th grade.
Wow.
And one of my most distinct memories was learning how to hang clean.
In 8th grade?
Yeah, with a PVC pipe. And Al telling me to not pull the bar so tight to my chest. And me being an 8th grade girl being like, why should I pull the bar close to my chest? He's like, you're not going to be able to in a couple of years. And I'm like, well, why? And he's like, because you're going to grow boobs. I was like, oh. So I just, instead of taking it tight, I was taking here. And but yeah, that was 8th grade was when I learned how to hang clean and lifted and speed work my whole high school career.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Build the base. I mean, that's why I think I get away with things now, because my base from high school, middle school, high school was solid.
Did you, when you went to Springfield, did they have you do strength training with your first year?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What was that like compared to what you were doing?
I walked into it very easily.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they did a lot of. Springfield is an AT-PT school, so they have both professions, so both are involved a little bit with sports. Obviously, AT is significantly involved, but there was a lot of like prehab, ACL prevention stuff talked about then. So, along with lifting, we did a lot of plyometric and jumping and landing and just kind of the things that stay put these days.
I'd love to hear it.
Yeah.
So so you graduate as an AT. I don't know your career path from there. Like, where did you go after you finished school? So
I graduated athletic training and I got a job at Hamilton College. So I worked as an athletic trainer there. That's where I met Pat Suarez and knew Alicia. So yeah, I went there. I knew I was going to PT school. So because of the transfer, I had a semester that wasn't lost. I had to do an internship. So I didn't do a whole lot then. But then when I had my degree, I started at Hamilton. I worked with women's hockey, men's basketball, and men's baseball very closely. Covered some other things, but I worked there full time. There was a part-time gig. It went full time for the spring semester. And then I started PT school in June, but I stayed on as an athletic trainer, which was great. So I would go to school all week, and then I'd do like 30 hours of work Friday, Saturday, Sunday as an AT. So, looking back, thanks to everybody who made, like, I was their, they were my guinea pigs. So I would learn stuff and I'd be like, hey guys, go over here, and be able to work on them and pick on them. And everybody was good about it. But it was cool to do that through the summer. And then when I got fully into the program, then that's when I stopped working.
Wow.
Yeah.
You literally had this whole plan figured out as a freshman. Okay.
Yeah.
So you were at Hamilton for how long?
9 months, let's say.
And then you went straight into PT after that?
Yes.
Okay. I know nothing about other than knowing you here. So like, what was after your AT career?
Yeah.
Where'd you go with PT? Like where were you? How did you start? All of that?
Yeah. So PT, I was at Upstate Medical in Syracuse. This first summer was gross anatomy. That's my favorite subject. I could spend my days in anatomy lab. I did it. I TA'd it. I did an independent study dissecting my own human body out. Not my own, but donated body out. I had a med student doing the guts, and I did all the muscles. So the anatomy side was definitely my favorite thing. And then, so PT school, my internships were, I did a pediatric home affiliation. I did out this way up at Glens Falls Hospital. I did a hospital rotation. I did one where I lived in New Jersey, just me and my dog living in Jersey. We'd spend a lot of time at Liberty State Park, but that was it was an outpatient orthopedic setting, but it was all workers' comp. So they have Concentras down there, which are like a workers' comp. You get hurt at work, you come right to the doctor that day. They get you right into PT that day. And it's just kind of more of a seamless process from a workers' comp side.
Okay.
And then, my last internship was in Cortland, or was in Dryden.
Oh,
so I lived in Cortland, and I did a great orthopedic. It was McCune Sport and Spine. I don't know if it's Dryden Sport and Spine. I don't know if the names have changed. But I had two great CIs who we might get into at some point. Were very Australian-based trained, Maitland trained. So Dave McCune and Mark Murphy were pretty influential to me. And then after that, I moved out here, started at Sports PT, which is now moved to MVPT. Worked there for about a year and a half before I managed 2 clinics out this way. Did that for about 10 or 11 years. And that led me to the Suarez team. That's it.
I
That's
didn't
it
know
in a
any of
nutshell.
this. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we go off on tangents, so I am trying to stay to a script. There will be several parts, so
Yeah, this
don't
is
worry.
officially part
We'll
one.
try a
Like
new food every time.
Yes, that's the goal. I'm eating more.
Do it.
Okay. I don't hate it.
Obviously, you have a ton of experience and you've seen a lot from being actually on the field as an AT to all of your years in PT. I'm curious because I don't even know this answer. Like, what is the difference of the way? Because I only know you about the way you treat patients now. Like,
Sure.
what is the difference of the way you treat a patient now versus earlier on in your career?
So I've had many phases
Yeah.
of me as a PT. Initially, I would say even initially when I came out, I wasn't really heavy modality based. Like, even though school, and they didn't push it, but taught modalities, ultrasound, electric stim. I used it some, but I wasn't really heavily based on that.
Yeah.
I did definitely manual, and some of that was manual meaning hands-on, stretch and movement, stuff like that. Some of that was a requirement, like where we needed to hit a metric to be at 80% hands-on, which I don't think is a bad thing. But I was always manual and exercise based. I feel over the years I got more and more aggressive with strength training earlier as well. And I did have my CSCS for many years.
Okay.
I forgot that part. So after
you let
athletic
it
training,
lapse?
I did.
No.
Well, because I had 3 certifications. You know
No,
how
I
much
know.
money it costs to keep those
I
damn
do.
things?
Yeah.
So I had my ATC, CSCS, and my DPT, and my OCS, and all of those cost money to maintain. And I don't I feel like I don't need the certifications anymore. So I've dropped the
Right.
initials, and I'm just me now. So So anyway, so we so I definitely strength train earlier. Yes,
I'm getting a little more here.
That's good. I definitely strength train earlier with people. I definitely have always had a holistic mind, pretty global holistic mind, meaning treating the whole patient. But I do remember a distinct time I was talking to one of my colleagues in a clinical meeting, and we were talking whole body, and I was like, yeah, you got the ankle, and the hip is really important, and the thigh and all that. She's like, but you can't forget about the ankle. The ankle is the one that was hurt, so you got to treat that too. So she kind of grounded me back to local,
Right.
local work and global work. And I mean, I think now my major difference in how I practice is I am always preaching, are you hitting the minimal activity guidelines, regardless if you're injured or not? So if you come in and you have a back injury, if you have an ankle injury, but you're not exercising regularly, you're not eating well, you're not sleeping, I will address those things probably within the first 2 sessions, or at least have a conversation around them, recognizing that for an injury to heal, you have to have the right context. You have to have the right environment. So, I think without addressing those things, people maybe don't get better. A lot of people do. But, if you're constantly battering your body in other ways, it's not going to allow tissues to heal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so I talk about that stuff way earlier. I encourage people to get walking, get moving, regardless of what they have, as long as it's safe. And yeah, I definitely listen more than I talk to people at this point. And just try to get people out of my door in that they know how to manage themselves. I used to be very heavy, like you need to be here 3 times a week for 6 weeks. Right. And I don't think that's the case for most things anymore. I do think it is for some, or certain personalities that need that to get better. But I would rather people learn how to move, what to do, and how to manage themselves. So a lot more education to help people understand themselves.
I mean, this is a strength podcast, so I'm always curious, and we obviously talk all the time about all of the stuff, and we have for years. But why do you push the strength side of things first? What is your philosophy on it? Why? Like, what have you seen with the strength? Why is it so part of the way you treat?
Well, I think that regardless of what you're treating, the muscles still need to hold your body and work. So, if you have an ankle sprain and you're not moving that joint regularly, your calf is going to atrophy. Things are going to atrophy even though you don't want them. Your glutes are going to atrophy because you're not pushing off. And so I think trying to mitigate atrophy and muscle loss through the healing process. I don't really care what anybody says. There's nothing that speeds the healing process up other than having a good environment in order to let your body heal. But healing is healing and time is time.
Right.
So if you're set up, I had a guy this morning who was just, he's like, I raise my own chickens, I eat organic, I do all these things, I sleep 9 hours a night. Like, he's got it. So all we did was talk about his abs today. And that's all we had to do. I'm like, I usually have this conversation wouldn't happen for 3 more times because I'd be helping you understand like how to treat your body nicely.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot of that of just putting in strength. And I love the quote, rehab's just training in the presence of injury. My brother and I were talking today, and it's just like when something's injured, its ability to tolerate load just goes down. It doesn't mean don't load it.
Right,
it's just
right,
the
right.
starting point has abruptly shifted. So when that starting point shifts, you need to shift with it, but load it. So does that mean you can do plantar flexion into a band because you can't do heel raises? Sure. But at least you're working your calf and trying to, mitigate the loss of that muscle. You still have it there. So you want to encourage as much as possible to keep working while you're going through the process.
I love it.
So
I really hope people are listening to that. People who are going to PT and are not working with you. Okay, so we've got to work together. Well, actually physically work together,
yeah.
But we connected a long time ago because I was actually trying to find a referral. We had just happened to meet, and here we are today. But not just like with me, but you've worked with other strength coaches, and you still work with other strength coaches and communicate with them. How do you work together with them? And it can be about the way we work together too, but how have you done it in the past? And because I think there's good and bad, not with our experience, just what I've seen with other PTs who I've dealt with, and they want nothing to do with what I have to say as a strength coach.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how have you worked with strength coaches? How does it fit into your rehab process, both while you're doing it and then, after you're done with someone?
For sure. I mean, I think my favorite people are strength coaches because number one, I have had the skill set, but I've dumped away from that. So, but my understanding and my opinion is we need to all be strength training. So at some point when the PT lens and the strength lens are blurring, you don't need PT anymore. You need strength training. So prior to you being here, we need, and still, I mean, not everybody is here in these wall strength training. So, prior to that, it's been, making connections with people. And I think the trust between us is built the most because I don't necessarily tell people to stop strength training.
Right.
Ever. And I will reach out to the strength coach and say, hey, here's what we're dealing with. Either I would like to keep this stuff with me for now, or if you add it in, the client should know, but please watch out for X, Y, and Z. And then the mutual respect of following through with that. But then do everything else. Be creative. Just don't do this. So I think a lot of that is trusting those you're around in the strength training world. And quite frankly, patient preference is a big, or client preference. If somebody is happy with what they're doing and getting the results they want, like, keep going.
Right.
Far too many people when they get injured stop exercising or feel maybe they got got hurt at the gym, or maybe their pain started at the gym, but there's other reasons behind it. So I just think it's really important for people not to stop moving and exercising. And that's why I think the PT strength coach relationships are crucial. On the other side, for strength coaches, I have one that referred somebody to me because he's just like, man, she signed up for shoulder surgery, but I don't see it. Like, it's not making sense to me. He sent her over to me. She's doing phenomenal. And she did 4 sessions here and she's back to strength training.
Right.
So we just shifted things, built a couple things up a little bit, but put the trust in the process of that and let her change her body a little bit. And she didn't get surgery. So it was just a beautiful thing. I like that referral because it's like, I'm not going to keep you forever. I'm not going to tell you to stop strength training. So let's figure out how you can move, what you can do, so you stay active, because inactivity is latent, and it just needs to stop, like how inactive our population is. So
For
why do we
sure.
stop people from loading when they're hurt, when we know that 80% or more of the population doesn't exercise enough? So that's my little rant.
I have a rant at the end. That was the
Oh
one I
God.
didn't tell you about, but that's okay.
Okay.
We're actually doing okay on time.
Okay.
But you have a 1:30 today?
Two. No. Do I have a 1:30?
I don't know. I thought you said you have free for an hour.
Oh shoot. I might. What time? Yeah. Yeah, I have a 1:30.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then I'm going to save my other two because obviously we're going to have a lot of series here. We might as well just make this a series. So we'll call that your rant so we don't have to go on one. Let's go into a rave. And I stole this from my current favorite podcast, which is the Coach 'em Up podcast. It's my current favorite one. But they always do a rant and a rave, and I think it's cool. So something you've been excited about just from the PT community as a whole. What do you got? Or you're not excited about anything?
I know, I'm excited. I mean, I don't know if it's, these walls specifically or what, but obviously you surround yourself with people who feed what you love too, I think what I'm most excited about is that more and more people are taking their health in their own hands to some degree. And that doesn't mean we don't need healthcare providers and physicians and everything, but people are wanting to learn more about themselves and how to move. And I think we're kind of at a cornerstone behind that. And, where we sit now, where we're consumer-based PT, meaning, people are finding us and coming to us versus physician-based PT. And I think that's what I'm most excited about right now, is because people who, get an ankle sprain, yes, you might need an x-ray to rule stuff out, but I want people to start right away versus be delayed in the system. People who, I'm doing non-operative ACL stuff, healing ACLs, like it's a major thing. I'm very excited about that, obviously. So I think it's just people making and realizing that they have more decisions in their healthcare than they realize, and helping people to see beyond an injury for healthy lifestyles.
I love it. I so want to attack so many different things right now, but we have 2 minutes. So I've been asking everybody, whether they're an athlete or whoever has been on here, advice to the population that you are currently, you are a PT. So a piece of advice or multiple pieces of advice for young PTs who are currently in school or PTs who are just coming out. What piece of advice do you have for them to get to the point where you're at?
That's easy. I mean, never stop learning and find the people that you are learning from and learn from them, and then learn from who they learned from too. So, Craig Levinson has been one of my mentors. The peers that I've had through First Principles of Movement. Although we're kind of a group here, it's like we like to see everything and test everything out. Like I want to know about McGill, and I want to know more about Maitland, and I want to know about Great Cook, and so the more and get to those people. Like early on, when you're young, when you don't have kids, when you're just out of your profession, find money, find somebody that will support you to get to courses, follow those people so that you get the sense of their humbleness, their know-nothings, they're, when you sit with the greats, they're not saying that they know everything. They're listening to you. They're listening to the course. They're listening to everybody's experience to make them better too when they're teaching. So I think it's just, developing that learn it all, mentality, and just don't stop, whatever you're doing.
I love that. It's 1:28.
Yes.
I think we have to call it there. There's so many things that we talk about on a daily basis. Maybe we'll make this a series. I don't know what we're going to try next.
I had a thought. What was it?
Nothing. No more fish.
No more fish?
Okay. I can do fish.
Well, what else?
What other fish is there?
If you have a suggestion for us to try.
Yes, this is a new part of it.
Let us
eating
know.
on the podcast.
I'm not doing raw anything. No. Alive anything.
No.
I'm talking like real, like food that has known nutritional value. That's what I want. Because I don't hate this. I can mix sardines in my tuna and eat
If there's
this.
any local farmers who want to give us raw milk would try it.
Wrong, but we already love that.
I know.
But just different places.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm down. We'll figure something out to try.
Okay.
Okay.
We're gonna call it there.
Okay.
Because
Sounds good.
I don't want you to be late. Thanks for coming
Yeah,
on. Appreciate
thanks.
it. This is the I Know Nothing podcast. Thanks for listening. 29 exact minutes.
Not bad.
Actually, I think it was a little bit longer, but that's okay.
We did good.
I was looking at it and I'm like, didn't she